Welcome to another episode of the Progress Always podcast. And I've got my man, Jon Andersen, with me here today. Professional wrestler, professional bodybuilder, professional strongman, lifestyle optimization specialist, helping men create their business card from their body. I love that tagline, by the way. Your body is your business card. But despite all of those accolades and the tremendous success you've had, the coolest part of your story is the beginning. So I want to start there, because everything that you've overcome is as we were downloading before we got started, is what sets you up for success. So,
totally, brother.
And I feel like that's very much a through line in the audience is, definitely in my story for sure. A lot of what I deliver in coaching now is the shit that I needed way back when.
Yeah. So brother.
Let's start there, man. How did Jon Andersen become Jon Andersen?
Yeah. Well, before we go all the way back to the beginning, one thing I like to kind of help people understand is that I've been a successful entrepreneur as well. I've created, many 6-figure companies, but 2 7-figure companies. And, a lot of entrepreneurs will never reach that. I've done 2. You could argue 3, but let's just say legitimate 2. And I had my first success as an entrepreneur, a 7-figure company, before I had any athletic success. So a lot of times people look at, this guy, of course he's successful business because he just rode the shirt tails of what he did athletically. Well, I did. That wasn't me. Of course I ride it now for sure, but I got the start. I got the start in business before I actually got to be really visible and athletic. So
what was your first company?
My first company was actually a painting company, of all things. Yeah, and I'll when we're talking the story, I'll tell you how it wound up there, because it was definitely not like some sort of a passion. It was like I'm hungry type decision. So, but if you rewind far enough, what you're going to find is this little guy, me, loving parents, loving mother. There was no issues in the home. I just was a little slow, and I was slow enough that I didn't understand I was slow. That tells you how slow I was. And one day I found myself, I'm having the parent teacher meeting, and I'm thinking, this is going to be fun. And then all of a sudden, my mom and my teacher are telling me that I have to change classrooms, and I still don't understand what that means. I'm like, oh, great, new friends, right? Mm-hmm. And then I get in this classroom the next day. I realize, holy shit, these are kids that are having trouble. I could recognize that. I was probably at the upper end of the scale of the classroom. And so to me, I was told it was the resource room. Mm-hmm. To the student body, it was the retard room. Because there were some kids in there that were truly challenged. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that's not a word. I don't say that word anymore, but in those days it was thrown out all the time, and that's reality. That's what it was called. Mm-hmm. I would be walking to that room and I would be told where I was going, and it was that unforbidden word of today. Yeah. So anyway, I get stuck in this room. I shouldn't say stuck. I got put in this room because I couldn't keep up. And I've quickly realized that, holy shit, I don't want to be here. I want to go back to the normal classes. So I told my mom, I said, look, how do we get out of here? I said, look, you have to be able to keep up in the normal classes or you can't go back. So I realized very quickly I need to start, working on getting better. So I started working really hard, and I developed a work ethic that was really unmatched. At a young age, I was kind of working twice as hard. Like I had to read stuff 2-3 times. And that when I was reading a page, I didn't read it once. I read it once, I read it twice. And hopefully then the second time I understood enough to go to the next page. Sometimes every third time. So if you figure that I was doing 200-300% more than most of the other kids. And it became normal to me because that's what was required. Mm-hmm. And then through that, I also had to develop, and this is my blessing, the work ethic, and this next thing I'm going to say is my blessing. I thank God every day, the universe every day, that I had these challenges, because had I not developed these two skill sets, I'm not me. I'm working at a 7-Eleven somewhere. So second skill was a problem-solving skill set. I was having a really difficult time learning the way they were teaching, so I had to figure out a way to do it my way. And that's what I did. And so I get to high school, and I told my mom, I said, listen, get me out of those classes. It's a new school. It's a new start. Oh my God, So she went and she kind of strong armed the principal, and he said, look, we'll let him go, but if he slows down the class, we got to pull him back. And so she told me, she said, look, you're in the normal classes, but this is up to you. I'm not there with you. And keep in mind, all those long hours of me busting my ass, trying to learn, my mom was sitting right to my left every time. Wow. I was not alone. She was there. I mean, she believed in me. And that was another thing that, a lot of times people say, well, what was it that made you think that you could do it? It's because my mom believed in me. So there's no question, because she believed in me, I was able to believe in myself, And, but I mean, there was a time literally where I went to her, just to understand this time that I'm describing. I'm sitting there frustrated, sitting down, getting ready to do a long homework session. Sometimes she would basically bring me in the kitchen and she'd start making dinner because I still wasn't done. And I asked her, I said, Mom, please be honest with me, And when I say this, I almost get a little crinkly chin, because I remember how it was hard for me to ask this question, but I point blank asked her, Mom, am I retarded? Because I was in that space. I was like, this is where I was. It was a hard sin. She told me no, very sternly. You're not. You have this issue where they didn't know it was dyslexia. They didn't know it was ADD. They didn't know.
What I was going to ask. Did you?
No, they didn't know. They knew none of that shit. And see, I'm a whopping OCD, but God damn it, it's perfect, because as a weightlifter, which with all my sports and entrepreneur, all we do is repeat shit when no one's looking. And if you can do that, you're good, man. I mean, if you could do the work when no one's looking, I don't give a shit what you work on. You're going to be a successful dude.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm in high school. I find a way to stay out of the resource room, and which was like a huge triumph. Now, somewhere right around this time, now I didn't have TV in the house. My mom was smart enough to know this kid cannot watch TV with the challenges he has. So there was no TV. So basically, I would see TV like when I would go to friends' houses and stuff like that. So when I saw it, it was already overly interesting. But then one day, I see Conan the Barbarian. And I see Arnold Schwarzenegger for the first time. And I had never seen a human being like that. And dude, something in my fucking chest just went like this. Bam. Right? Something switched. But now keep in mind, I'm a fat little boy at this time, because I'm in these.
That's what I was going to ask. Not only are you.
Well, let me set this up. Oh, yeah. So that's challenging the classroom. So I'm getting picked on in the hallways. People are, teasing me, spitting on my face in the bus, putting me in garbage cans, stacking me on top of the lockers. Now, granted, that like I was a part of the sports, so other sports, some of my teammates would always come and help me, but there was no problem with that shit in those days. Right. Now you'd be in big fucking trouble. Right. We didn't hit him. We just put him on the lockers. Okay, go to detention after school today. That's what it was, Right. And I'm not trying to be too much of a bitch, but I mean, I got picked on enough that I ran to food for comfort. As soon as I got off the lockers, I was running straight for fucking maple bars and chocolate milk, brother.
Wow, dude. Here's a question for you as a guy that was overweight once upon a time. What do you, because you always you hear like the compensation for your insecurities in food, or you become the funny guy, right? And you use humor to mask your pain, so to speak.
Yep.
Was that part of your defense mechanism, or was it just humor or any other?
I wasn't that quick-witted, brother. Okay. I mean, remember, I'm slow here.
Life is straight uphill for you right now.
Oh yeah, brother. I'm working hard, and confidence is low. I don't have the fucking balls to make a fucking joke. You know what I mean? I'm trying to stay out of the fucking the limelight. You know what I mean? So, but that's one of the things. I mean, people say, oh, you're using this to hide from your problems. Every human uses something to hide from something. So I've done it with food. I've done it with weights. I've done it with fucking drugs. I've done it with all sorts of shit. And if you think you don't do it, you're out of your fucking mind. You're just not honest enough with yourself to figure out what you're doing it with and what you're running from. We all do it. There's some of us just got the balls to pull our pants down and say, yes, I do it. And that's me. And that's part of my story and helping people understand that, yes, you can. Because if the fat little fucker like me with a whopping learning disability can do what I did, I guarantee you can too. So I see Arnold Schwarzenegger. At this point, you know, I'm just getting out of those classes, but I'm still carrying all that shit with me. I'm overweight, and I'm eating as my mechanism. And so this thing switches in my fucking chest and I am searching for how to get there. I know what I want to do now. For the first time, that's what I got to do. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do when I get there, but I just know I got to get there. And I'm searching for the fucking answers in the bottom of the cookie jar because that's what I'm used to doing. Okay, well, I can't find the answers, so I'm just going to distract myself with. So it almost like that twist almost made more of the eating situation. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I can't, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So now let's fast forward a little bit. I'm a junior. I'm playing every fucking sport, right? Because my mom knows got to keep the kid busy, right? And on top of it, I'm a late bloomer, right? So get this. I'm freshman year of football. I'm the only kid walking in the shower with a single hair on his fucking cock. Starting to be fucking brash, but I mean, that's put that inside of a fucking kid that's got, you know, already self-esteem issues, you know, so it's coming from every side. Sure. So junior year, I finally this first year, I literally get to come to school and know that I'm going to get in the showers and I got hair in my shaft, right? Yeah. I'm like, this is actually, that's a win. Well, I'd also started to hit puberty, which means my body's starting to produce testosterone. So in those days, if you're playing football, you had to lift weights for your PE class. It was a safety thing. And they maxed us every time we got to school, so they figure out where we were so we could project percentages. So I come to school as a junior. I max out. Everybody did. I'm one of two kids that squatted 405. So, yeah. So the last day of my sophomore year and the first day of my junior year are like fucking polar opposites because, and I don't even know, I mean, I squat this weight and I'm like, wow, I was pretty, I mean, of course in the weight room, I was going bananas, but the word spread so quick. All of a sudden I'm one of two juniors who did this thing. And rather than the guy that's getting bumped in the hallway, people are kind of stepping out of my way. And I was like, all just in the one fucking rep, I saw the difference. And I was like, whoa, I'm looking around going, you know, is there somebody behind me? Why are you stepping out of my way is what I'm thinking, you know? And it just kind of dawns on me, holy shit, you're good at something, dude.
There you go.
And I was like, oh, baby, you know, and then that thing right here just fucking went bananas, dude, bananas. Yeah. And so I took that double, triple work ethic, applied it to the gym, right? Funny enough, part of why I squatted 405 was because my problem solving skills the year before, I'd figured out how to do a low bar squat. Nobody was teaching Nobody was teaching this, but I had figured out if I move it lower on my back, I'm actually stronger. I just was too underdeveloped to do any substantial weight yet. So when I did that first max and I hit puberty, you know, I got some testosterone on my system. I remember pulling it out. Kind of wiggling it down, hitting that squat. And dude, nobody knew how to do that. Because it wasn't taught, but that's the problem solving skill right there. That's probably my first real victory that my problem solving skill set gave me. Right. Yeah. So anyway, so now I'm just going bananas with the weights. And I realized very quickly I am far better at lifting the weights than the sports that I'm lifting the weights for, which was fine with me. I just want to be good at something, man. Sure, you know? Sure. And so I finished them now by the end of high school. You know, I'm in good shape. I'm not the fat little kid anymore. I've hit puberty. I'm still late bloomer, but the girls are starting to dig me. Right. But I don't see that here. I'm still way behind mentally because I still see that 15-year-old, you know, that, you know, I mean, I tried to ask girls to the dance, just never got accepted. I'm seeing that, you know? So anyway, but you know, I understand what's going on, but I'm just mentally not there, but I just keep forging on. So I go to college. My mom says, look, I want to just stay at home and lift weights. She's like, absolutely not. You're out of your mind. She said, and I didn't have the test scores. Like, I didn't even have high enough classes. Like, I didn't have geometry, I think it was, which would allow, if I didn't have geometry, I couldn't get into any state school. So my mom basically just ponied up the massive tuition for a small private school, because if they're paying, they're going to take you,
Sure.
you know? And so I went to the University of Portland, which was the West Coast Conference, which was like Loyola and Gonzaga, you know, that. And so I show up to college and I'm thinking to myself, well, I tell my mom, I said, look, you know, this is tough for me. So let's do 5 years so I can take this slower. But in my mind, I'm thinking I got 5 years to keep lifting weights. So when this shit is over, I can hopefully do what I want to do. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know I needed to be big so I could try to do something. Right. So I get to college, right? I'm thinking, oh my goodness, right? I'm in my dorm. I got to figure out how to survive here because I've been solving my own problems my way. And I'm like, okay, this is new landscape. I better figure this out. I'm reading at probably an 8th grade level. And I know that's a big problem in college. So I go to the bookstore and I buy the books. I bring them back to this is day one. Bring them back to my dorm and it's a stack of books like this, right? So of course I picked the skinniest one. And this is, swear to God, what happens. I open it up and I start thumbing. I'm like, fuck, there's no pictures in here. that tells you the books that I've been trying to read.
Right.
Yeah. So I sit there and I try to read, 2-3 pages. And I'm like, I've been at this for 90 minutes and I don't know. I have no idea what I've been reading. This is my comprehension level is not even close to what it needs to be for this level of reading. So I was like, okay. So I sat there, and how do I figure this out? My problem solved. My mind is going. I'm like, okay, I got to go talk to each professor and I got to find out where the grade's coming from. I need to know how much of the grade's coming from that book. So I went to each professor. Some of them said, the final, because really it's just 2 fucking tests in college. You know what I mean? It's a midterm and a final. That's where your grades are. And so I was like, well, where's the information coming? Some of them said 25% in the book, 75% in the lectures. I'm like, I'm good with that. I'll just nail that 75% and I'll get my C. And that's what I did. Some of them said 50% is coming from the books. Well, then I know that I need to find somebody to have conversations with about that book because I got to get the information out of that book. And if somebody talks to me, I'll get it. Yeah. And so that's what I did. And I basically figured out, I got through college. I have a major in theology and I'm 1 credit away from a minor in philosophy.
Holy shit. So,
and I didn't cheat to get through.
You had human audiobooks once upon a time.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude,
yeah.
That's okay.
And sometimes they came in form of a slightly plump female, but she was happy to talk to me about that book. Yeah. And so, but it was, so that's again, my problem solving skills. I mean, that's thinking about how I pulled that off at 18. I would look back and I'm like, fuck, that was pretty good. You don't get taught something like that. You just figure that shit out.
Yeah.
And that's, again, my blessing is starting. I don't even realize how blessed I am at this point yet. Right.
So let me ask you this, man.
Yeah.
How far along did you make it before you stopped being vexed by that outdated image of Jon?
Oh, brother, that image never fucking goes away. Okay. I can look in the mirror sometimes early. I get up early. I love my mornings.
Yeah.
But when you get up in the morning, sometimes your brain will go to the problems right away. That's the way our brains were designed. So I say this as a joke, but realistically, there are times where I still see that fat little 15-year-old boy. But the joke I make is that I live my life in a certain way, keeps that fat little bastard on the other side of the mirror. And I make the joke here and it's the truth. Anybody who has had a major sort of trauma, it never leaves. You just learn to manage it. So that stuff is still in me. It's just a smaller part of me, very small part of me now.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, that's the damn spice of life. I mean, so learning to manage our shit is a huge part of being a happy individual or a successful individual. So, but for the most part, I would say Where I really let go of a piece of that was when I started traveling internationally as a pro strongman. I was like, okay, dude, you are now world elite. You know, you can let go of some of that shit now, you know? And the validation I started getting from people around me, it was pretty difficult to hold on to that.
Yeah. So, if you hear something often enough, both positive or negative,
yep,
you become more and more likely to actually believe it.
Yeah. 100%.
So in 100%. Your case, it's like, hey, dude, you're strong as fuck. You look good. Everything's going your way. If you hear that often enough.
Well, I got a supplement contract. Dude, I got a supplement contract because of the way I looked.
Yeah. Okay.
It was because I was I was on a circuit, but you're getting this contract because you're one of the few dudes that has a six pack and you compete as an international pro and you're over 300 pounds.
Okay. So you're in that like Marius Pudzianowski aesthetic, you know, where like everybody else is a 6'5" doughboy and you're like rocked up and okay. Yeah.
Well, not rocked up like bodybuilder rocked up, but rocked up for strongman rocked up.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
there's
for sure.
a very considerable difference.
Yeah. But I get it. So I graduate college, brother, and keep in mind, I'm not in this space. I am still, I come out of college. I'm 265 and brother, I am fucking cock strong. I was probably strong enough then to go out and try to do it. Okay. But I didn't believe enough in myself. I was like, I'm watching this shit on TV. I don't think I can compete like that. But I'm the strongest guy at every gym I go to. I mean, I used to travel the gyms. In those days, it was kind of like you would do that. You would welcome some other dude coming. It was like a battle, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anyway, so I graduate college and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go get a job because, you know, number one, I'm not sitting in traffic. Number two, I was going to take all the time I need that I want to commit to chasing my dreams. So I was like, well, I'm going to start a business. That was in my mind. I was like, oh, I didn't do what everybody else did. Never been to an interview in my life. Never collected a paycheck. Never commuted to work. And my first idea, brother, was actually pretty fucking ripping. It was just 2 decades too soon. And because when it comes down to it, if you can solve a problem for yourself and enough other people need that solution, you got to fucking, as an entrepreneur, you're in damn good shape. Yep. Well, I solved the problem for myself, but the problem was there wasn't enough people like me yet. It was meal prep. I had the fucking containers, the whole fucking thing. It just hadn't hit, you know. At that point, protein powders were just coming in. People were veering away from food, you know.
Right. Yep.
So anyway, that thing failed. That's as an entrepreneur, we realize that's just part of the equation. And keep in mind, I didn't give a shit, man. I've been failing so much of the early part of my life. Failure didn't really scare me like it. People tell me, "Oh, you can't." I've been hearing that my whole life too.
Well, dude, I love that perspective because, you know, where you had got enough no's and quote unquote failures, which we now turn into lessons, right?
Yep.
Early enough that you became more resilient to risk, right? And
I'm a risk taker, brother. Dude, risk is comfortable to me.
And in my journey, the overcompensation and work ethic was really born of just being purely fucking naive, you know? So like anything where I was able to show up and supersede expectation was simply because like, I didn't know you weren't supposed to crush it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's because that's the way you're programmed that way.
So there's that, that unconscious expectation that you have of yourself that serves you so supremely, you know? Oh yeah. At what point did you become conscious of those two components inside you?
Well, it's funny because the fat little boy in me still popped his head up a lot more during those times. And so he got a little bit more rattled, you know, because of course the fat little boy, he remembers how bad it felt, you know, when people were telling him he couldn't. You know, it wasn't until I became older that my ears became deaf to that. That makes sense. So I would still get a little rattled here and there, but I also knew that I wasn't like everybody else. And I wasn't going to, doing what everybody else did not interest me. It never really did, because I found my own way, and I maybe because I couldn't do it when I was young, so I found interest elsewhere. So first business fails, and I'm like, okay, what are you going to do now? The money that you had saved coming out of college is gone, and I'm hungry. I got a little car, a little CRX. It was a Honda CRX, had no second gear, so you weren't going up any hills, And the little bit of money that I had was for gas. So, I mean, I'm like, eating at buddies' houses, and I very regularly would go to a grocery store. This is back in the days where they had the big bins of foods you could just put into a plastic bag. And I would just walk around in there and eat, and I would leave the store, basically satisfying my hunger. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's how hungry I was. And so I was like, all right, dude, you got to swing the bat again, and you need to take a little bit more of a sure thing. So I was like, you're going to start a painting company. Why? Because in college, I made a grip painting in summer times. I would just go door to door. Hey, I'll paint your house, for $1,500. Any single story, I could paint it for $1,500. Painting cost me $200, $300 to have a buddy help me do it. We'd knock it out in a week. I'm making $1,000 a week, and as a college kid, this is like 1991.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I knew that I could do that, and keep in mind, anybody could have done it, but people are too afraid to go knock on doors. I was like, if there's $1,000 on the other side of that door, I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
People see the rejection of the no. I see the 1,000 sitting in that house, And so anyway, so I started this business, right? Completely illegal. No license, no insurance, same guerrilla, marketing tactic, but I hiring people to do it. Yeah. Right. Because as an entrepreneur, sometimes, it's okay, let's just get this thing out of the gate. And if it works, then we'll start protecting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I always tell people, don't fucking hire a lawyer for the problem you don't have yet. That's ridiculous. So I was like, I don't even know if this is going to succeed the way I've got it mapped out. I mean, not to getting a license would have taken fucking a long time, and I didn't have the money for insurance. So I just had barely enough money to print up some contracts that I had stolen from another painting contractor that I found, So anyway, I didn't steal. He gave them to me. But anyway, so this thing, and I realized, okay, you're doing this. You're either going to develop it to where it can run itself so you can keep doing what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to sell it. That was the plan. It wasn't, okay, this wasn't my big picture thing.
Right.
Well, that first year, I told you, I was like, end of year 5, it's 25 employees, and we're just crushing. And I ended up selling that son of a bitch and put a huge load of dough in my pocket. I'm like in my mid-20s right now. Right. And all my friends, man, they're, and keep in mind, those were the days where you got a job and you started slowly climbing some ridiculous corporate ladder. You know what I mean? And so basically now it's like I've just cut through so much red tape because I'm not willing to stand there in line. Right. And I've got my first big windfall. And right about this time, I had actually started to compete. And because my business was doing well, so I had the time to do what I was doing, training and traveling to compete. And I had just started to compete, and I had actually won my pro card as a pro strongman. And now, right about the time that this thing sells, I've got myself on one of the travel teams for Team USA. So I'm traveling the world as representing Team USA. It's nuts, dude. So, and again, with strongman, you're going to see this pattern repeat itself. So I did so much work in the dark when no one was looking, so to speak, right? First contest win. Second contest, national win. Excuse me. First contest as an amateur win. Second contest as an amateur win. Now I'm a pro. Go to the first pro qualifier. Qualify for pro nationals. Pro nationals is my 4th ever contest. I qualify to be an international player. My 5th other contest, I'm traveling internationally.
Holy
right?
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is great. And I got this wad of dough. So the real estate market was doing well. So I started a real estate company. So we're basically, I'm traveling a lot. So when I come home, I'm going to the courthouse steps and I'm buying foreclosures. And I got all the connections from a painting company. So I got people going and painting it and fixing it up, flipping these houses. I kept some, flipped some. I mean, this was like, holy shit, man. I've cut through so much red tape. Life is really fucking kicking ass right now. And I'm in my late 20s.
Yep.
And you know, life is freaking good. And so then kind of at the same time, it's weird how the universe kind of lines it up. The real estate market kind of starts drying itself up. And I ended up having a back surgery in strongman. And so it was kind of like those two almost came to a conclusion at the same time. So this was an era.
Did you make it out of strongman injury free?
No, you don't make, brother. You don't play a pro sport, and if you're a pro athlete, you get injured. Period. End of story, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm at this time. Remember, this is the .com boom. There's so much going on in those early 2000s. So I had an agent. We had commercials and shit. Where I was actually on a 2006 Super Bowl commercial.
Right on.
Talk about mailbox money, brother. Every week there's another check coming. It's getting bigger every week. I'm like, this is amazing. This took me an afternoon. You know,
what?
It was an ESPN. It was called Sports Heaven. It was actually, the technology wasn't developed, is why it failed. But it was basically a flip phone where you were going to be able to get sports scores roll across the bottom of the screen on a ticker.
Oh, okay.
That was the first evolution of having like a feed off the internet into a phone.
Was that Mark Cuban's thing?
Honestly, I don't remember, brother. I just remember it was ESPN.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably was
he created the ticker.
Yeah, well, I don't. And when I say ticker, it might not have been a ticker, but it was some feed.
Yeah.
It's like if ESPN was coupled with one of the phone companies, and I think they were coupled with, whatever the Motorola. So it's all packaged together. If you bought this phone and this service, you were going to get the ESPN feed. Right.
Okay.
And it blew up at first, but the technology wouldn't keep up with it. Sure. So anyway, but I was doing all sorts of shit like this. So it was great. I was getting sponsors, and
that's awesome.
So my agent says to me, he says, look, dude, you want to continue to make money as an athlete? Cause he knew I was just a pig in shit, and that's part of how he marketed me too. Is like, just telling my story, like really got people's attention,
Sure.
Because if you want to keep, I'm 34 now. You want to keep making money. The surgeon says you go back on the circuit, you're going to be back here in a year, and you'll have even a bigger surgery. So this is not a good idea. He goes, if you want to keep me around, we're going to have to change what you do. I said, where are we going? He goes, pro wrestling. I'm like, holy shit, man. I was like, I was never a pro wrestling fan as a kid. I never paid attention other than watching the big dudes flex.
Right.
I really wasn't paying attention to what they're doing. So basically, he sends me to this school where I learn how to do it. It's because it's a dance, if we don't learn how to do it together, somebody's getting hurt,
Yeah.
And so he basically puts together this, because he was a hustler, dude. He wasn't like he was some massive, mainstream agent. You know what I mean? Yeah. He would have been messing with me if he had, guys that were signing $100 million deals. So he was a hustler. So he fraudulated, full blown, just wrote up this resume like I've been wrestling for years. I've been fucking wrestling for months, dude. Right. And so anyway, I had to do a bunch of like, I had to get some footage so that we could send this footage of me in the ring to these Japanese companies. So I remember wrestling a couple times in high school gyms to get this footage. I was like, holy shit, man, life has really changed here.
Wow.
I'm used to competing in an amphitheater, Riga, Latvia, 15,000 people. Now I'm competing in a high school gym, and there's 60 people here, and I got more teeth than everybody in the front row put together. It was a different world, dude. But I was like, you know what you're doing here. Get your footage.
Part of the plan.
So I'm about 7-8 months into this drill, and he calls me and says, hey, you're going to Japan. Don't fuck this up. I'm like, oh, Jesus, what are we doing? He goes, I got you 3 matches. It's basically a mini tour, as they called it. It was like, we're going to pay you to come over. And if you do well, then we'll think what we want to do next.
Okay.
So it's like my first match in Japan. It's like maybe my 7th, 8th. I haven't wrestled 10 times yet. Now I'm in a fucking pay-per-view in Sapporo, Japan, with probably 10,000 people. And dude, I am shitting in my pants. I'm matched up with a guy who's been wrestling for like 20 years.
Sure.
And so, you're talking about what you're going to do in the match, and he's talking a language I just learned 9 months ago.
Right.
And he's got broken English. So I'm like, this shit is going over my head so fucking fast. I can't even believe it. But I can't tell anybody because everybody thinks I've been doing this for years.
Right. Yep.
What a predicament, dude. So I go back to, dude, I went back to the hotel and I just started rehearsing and remembering. And I remember that night because the match was the next day. Mm-hmm. And I remember because as I sat there, I could remember the conversation because I could remember I'm good at remembering what people say. That's how I'm learning, like college.
Right.
So I pieced this. It took, I thought, when I say thought, I literally thought myself to sleep. I woke up in the morning and I was still in my clothes. I had just thought to the point where I fell asleep, but I woke up and I remembered the match.
Yep.
Problem solving again at its best.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Now I didn't remember it perfectly, but I remembered it enough that I got a contract when the mini tour was over. And so now I'm a fucking pro wrestler in Japan, dude.
And how long was that window of your life?
That was that was actually a company called IGF. I ended up getting on with a bigger company called New Japan. And this time from my Japan stint went basically 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
So I seem to work in sevens. I was 7 years, 6.5, almost 7 years in the pro man circuit, almost identical time as a pro wrestler.
And then bodybuilding.
Yeah. So basically I had a great 7 years. I mean, it was just an amazing, walking out.
Did you stay over in Japan or did you commute back and forth across the pond?
It was like an extended fireman schedule. You'd be gone for 3 weeks, home for 2, that type of thing.
Cool. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, my kids were young, so the timing was, dude, the universe fucking lined some shit up for me.
Yeah.
Because, basically it's like I'm loving life. I mean, keep in mind, I would always remind myself, you're just a fat little boy with a whopping learning disability, dude. Look around. Look what you've done. Soak this shit up, because that's how I'd get control. Like I'm backstage, Tokyo Dome, 54,000 people. I'm shitting in my pants, dude. This is like crazy stuff. And that's to remind myself, dude, look, you're just a fat little boy. Look what you did. Mm-hmm. You're having fun. You're not scared. You're having fun. And I was like, you're right. Mm-hmm. Because we often get excitement and fear. The emotion is so similar. We confuse it sometimes. Sure. And so you boil it down and think, dude, you couldn't have dreamed this when you were little. What are you scared about? I didn't know how to dream big enough to have the career I had, brother. I really didn't.
Yeah.
As a 15-year-old, I would have cut my finger off for any one of my 3 careers, and probably settled working a job, just to have one of these. Anyway, so wrestling's over. They don't renew me. And, that's a tough one because I told myself when I lost my good job, I wasn't going to go try. Most wrestlers, they think, I'll just go back to the high school gyms and get picked up again. I wasn't going back there. When I went home, I went home. That was it. Yep. And, like I said, the timing was perfect because my little girls were just getting out of elementary into middle school, which is really when they needed me there all the time. So again, the universe lining my shit up. And I was like, well, you've been told you look like a bodybuilder, so let's try that. So, and again, when I went from strongman to wrestling, I'm 34 years old. You can't do that. You're never going to make that. And I said, look, you might be right, but I'm going to try anyway.
Sure. And
so same thing with bodybuilding. I'm going to be at 42 now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be a bodybuilder. People are going to be looking, you're 42. What are you up? You can't, you might be right, but I'm going to try anyway. So first contest, win, go to a nationals, win. Now I'm a pro in 2 contests. Yeah. Third ever bodybuilding contest is my pro debut. I'm on a stage with Johnny Jackson and Cedric McMillan. And I've been bodybuilding for 9 months. Anybody who understands bodybuilding, it just, this doesn't happen. I didn't honestly realize it because when I got my pro card, Dave Palumbo, who's kind of he's almost like a bodybuilding historian now. He just knows so much about it. He basically somehow got a hold of me and said, hey, I want you to come on I think he calls it muscle radio or something like that. Cause he always wants to talk to the guys that are hot off the stage, turning pro. And he starts off the show. He's like, hey, you realize there's a lot of people in the bodybuilding community, myself included, that are kind of pissed off at you right now because you just did in 9 months what many of us couldn't do in 15 years.
Yeah, no, 100%. Dude, I will never forget when I transitioned from college football to bodybuilding. I might have been a year removed from the sport, and everybody, I was at Gold's in Dallas, and they're like, "Oh, you got to go talk to Steve." So okay, so I go see Steve, and dude, I'm 6', 217, 220. You know, I'm football big. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Hey man, you look good. You should, give it a run." I'm like, okay, cool. So but I don't know shit about shit. I go sit with Steve, and he's like, "Well, I think you got a good base. Yeah, how far
Yeah.
away from the stage do you think you are?" I do not see the setup coming. You know, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I can get there in like 4 months." You know, if I'm being honest. He's like, "Okay, take your shirt off." Take my shirt off. You know, probably like 15% body fat. You know,
Great shape for most people, but not
right?
bodybuilding.
No, dude, he was like 4 months. I was like, "Yeah, I think so." He takes his shirt off, dude. Veins everywhere,
Oh
eight
yeah,
pack,
different deal, brother.
striated quads, da da da. He's like, and I'm talking about juice to the fucking gills too, you know. And he's like, "I'm 4 months out."
Yeah, I know, dude. I know. I mean, people, dude. People, this
Oh,
is crazy,
it
dude.
fucked me up,
It's
dude.
oh, dude. I mean, it's crazy when people often say, "Oh yeah, I think I could bodybuild in X amount of weeks." I'm like, you've clearly never done it before, have you?
Dude. So
It's a
and
different.
yeah,
It's
no,
different.
his philosophy was like, "Look, man, if I'm gonna spend some time with you, we're not in this for anything. And this being your first show, I'm gonna give you some grace, but we're not in this for anything outside the top 5. So if you're trying
Yeah.
to just check a box on the bucket list, I'm not the guy
Yeah.
for you."
Yep.
And dude,
Yep.
like
Yep.
had me reevaluate my commitment to the process. And dude, I fell in love with it. So the
Yeah.
next question was like, once like commitment had been established, he was like, "So how far do you want to go with this?" I was like, "No needles, bro." He was like, "Well, just know, like, if you want to play in the NPC, you better be doing it
Well,
for love. You do it for
yeah,
love."
100%. In the NPC, keep in mind, NPC, I believe, then the jump from NPC to IFBB is so massive.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, I tell people all the time. I said, look, going from local to regional is a fairly good jump. Regional to a national, winning a national is pretty fucking tough too. But the jump from national to international is quantum because everybody there is a national champion.
Yep.
It's unbelievable, and people don't understand. Like, oh yeah, I got a brother who won a bodybuilding contest at local show, and good for him.
Yeah.
And I love that he did it, but people don't understand that there's these different tiers, and the higher you go, the harder it gets.
Oh
It's
yeah,
crazy.
Oh,
so commend you for even wanting to dive into that shark-infested waters without a way to defend yourself, so to speak.
100%. I ended up doing 2 NPCs and 2 INBAs. My whole thing was I'm just going to do it till, so I can learn the process. It took me 4 shows to figure out what worked for me. Cause most of the shit, we talked about muscle mag being where I was pulling a lot of stuff at the, back in the day. It took me 4 shows to figure out that I was overtraining and playing with protocols that were designed for and by folks on the sauce. So like I couldn't recover. I came in, dude, I went from 220 to I weighed in from my first NPC show at 182 pounds. I was fucking shredded and so skinny. They don't talk about muscle wasting when you get a degree in exercise physiology. They don't talk about.
That's because they don't talk about the processes you use to get on the stage. They don't understand that. Nobody teaches that because the books don't understand it.
So yeah, dude, I was like, okay. So by the time I got to my 4th show, now granted, I've spent 4 years in the Marines, training a standardization officer for all. I had like thousands of bodies to play with in performance, right? Finally figured out that I needed to eat my way into the show if I'm gonna do it au natural. I only did cardio 3 days a week and just beat the shit out of every muscle group once a week and spent the next 6 days and 23 hours letting that thing recover. And
Well, honestly, brother,
that was the protocol that worked for me.
Well, what you're describing actually is very similar to my protocol. It's very
Okay.
whether you're enhanced or not, everybody's protocol is different.
Mm-hmm.
And some guys can train body parts multiple times per week and others can't, So, but I think it has to do with the type of damage. And because you were an athlete, I think that, and myself as well, we trained for strength at one point in our careers. The damage we can do in one session took a week. People that understand the way to train intensely like we could train, they could do it again that week.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
So I think granted the enhancement had a big part of it too, but I think it's a huge kudo to you, the fact that you know how to train hard enough that the body required that kind of rest. And that's a huge compliment because most people don't really understand that.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. That's huge. But but the process, right? I had to do less. I had to, and granted, bodybuilding being what it is, so subjective, and still, it took me 3 shows with less than desirable outcomes. I still placed in the top 5 in all of them, but to really figure out like, oh, this is what works for me.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I came in, I hired a coach right out of the way. So I'm like, look, I had coaches and everything. It was like, look, I'm getting here so fast, I don't know. Somebody please tell me what to do. And so it was just easier for me to execute. So I hired a coach and just said, look, I'm a machine. You just tell me what to do. And he took a bit of advantage of that because he had me doing some pretty nasty shit, but we had really great results together. But it is such a process of figuring out what works for you. It's unbelievable.
But I think that that transmutes into literally everything else we do in life.
Oh yeah, brother.
Right. But it's the staying power that's required to iterate as much as needed.
Yep.
Some call it pivoting, some call it shifting gears, whatever. But that's what's required to. And, you may knock it out of the park the first time. Right. But the thing that was successful 10 years ago, like you live life in 7s. The things that you were doing 7 years ago aren't going to work in year 8. So you have to be willing to
and what I remind myself every day is that greatness is earned every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, just because you did it yesterday doesn't mean you're great today.
Right.
It's like your success is rented. Mm-hmm. And it's your discipline that pays the rent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
do you have that discipline here again today? Because your success is only as good as your discipline, which is kind of what we're talking about. I mean, we literally think the same, brother.
Dude, it's so awesome, man. And I'm curious because, for a lot of folks that I've met in my life that have a journey like yours in that, they've been never mind all the things that are going on behind the scenes that people may or may not know about, but from a surface level, not knowing nothing about Jon, who seem to have just nailed it over and over and over again. There's that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning-esque mindset that seems to come along with that sometimes, in that just because you did it doesn't mean you know how to teach or coach others into that success, or to pull that out of themselves so that they can achieve success as well. You don't seem to have that issue, because now you're teaching people, you're coaching people to be the best version of themselves. So where did the flip come from? When did you decide you were going to start paying it forward?
Yeah, that's a great fucking question. So my current business, it started itself, brother, literally, because, as I'm solving my own problems, like, I'm figuring, okay, I couldn't stop overeating. I was like, I was so used to just stuffing myself as a means of comfort. Right.
But you put yourself in a regimen that required all that food.
Well, no, this was when I was a fat little boy.
Okay,
right.
Got it. Yeah.
Once I ate to the point where I was uncomfortable, now I was thinking about how bad I felt about what I did to myself, not somebody putting me on the lockers. You know, it was easier for me to think about what I did to myself than somebody else doing it to me.
Sure.
And so my first real addiction, I'm an addictive motherfucker. I just say addicted to productive shit now. My first real addiction was sugar, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you in those days where I'm basically having a hard time not overeating, staying away from sugar, and I know that I'm trying to do this. You've got to solve this problem. So I was solving problems for myself with the diet that I practice and teach completely organically developed. You're not going to find my method anywhere unless you're talking to somebody who I've taught. Mm-hmm. And that's part of why it works so well. It's just so different than like when I tell people what we're doing, they're like, I've never seen anything like this before. And I said, well, would you be happy that you paid me all that when I gave you something you'd seen before? You know, would that make you happy? You know, and they're like, oh, I guess that's true, you know, but anyway, so I'm solving my own problems. I had to do it so simply because I learned through my success was through simplicity. So as I'm developing, people are like, dude, you know, help me. So of course I love to help people. It's like, man, I'm a pussy inside. I'm a mama's boy. When I can make someone smile, I love it, you know? So yeah, this is what I did. It worked really well for me. It'll probably work for you too. Mm-hmm. And boom, that guy's having success. And then this guy's having, I mean, like I'm helping people with their diets just because they see what I look like and how I'm performing. So I'm just telling them what I'm doing. Right. Mm-hmm. And, I've been doing that for decades before I actually charged for it. And so as a pro bodybuilder, right, I'm a pro bodybuilder now. Well, what does a pro bodybuilder do? He starts a gym. Another dream, check. So that's what I did. So, you know, I mean, again, there's no red tape. And as soon as I think I'm starting a gym, it's done. I'm not sitting around thinking about it. Right. I'm out looking for buildings, you know. Mm-hmm. So my gym's a success. I'm a pro bodybuilder. Got my gym. This is great, you know, and all of a sudden, people are calling my gym and they're saying, hey, can you train me? And my mind is, I've never had a business that was outside of a local geographic. My mind is still there. Yep. So I'm thinking, of course, where do you live? I'm thinking he's going to say he's 5 exits away. He's like, I'm in Nebraska. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to do this over the telephone. Is what I'm thinking in my head. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. And so literally people are calling my gym asking if I can, because this online thing has started, but I'm not really even aware it started yet.
Right.
And so I told my wife, I said, hey, you know, I said, I need you to kind of take over my roles at the gym because I'm going to lean on this thing and see what happens, you know? So, so basically, dude, this thing, I mean, it turned itself into a 7-figure company, like really quickly. Now, granted, I'm helping people. So that's huge. I mean, what I'm doing for people is very different. And they're like, I have never eaten like this and got stronger and leaner at the same time. Well, that's what I taught myself. Right. And I'd done it for so many people before I charged for it. I was really fucking good at it. You know, like my system is all about reading the signals from the body. The body will tell us exactly what we need to do.
Very intuitive.
I've got a pretty good idea where I need to start. But after that, I'm just listening. And I need you to tell me what you hear, you know? And basically, so boom. So that's where at that time, it was really just building muscle, drop body fat. But here's how the real mentorship came around was I realized that people were having a hard time with doing stuff every day. Well, doing stuff every day to me is comfortable. My OCD loves that. Mm-hmm. So what I started to do was I started to basically implement different like mindset, I guess you could call them tricks, if you will, different things I would do mentally and start habit stacking to help them be able to execute the things that they were faltering. And then I realized, holy shit, you know, if I attack the mind first, you know, with this coaching, then we get what we want out of the body so much faster.
Faster. Yes.
And so then it just became like, holy shit, now and people are coming to me and they're like, I'm making more money. Mm-hmm. I'm happier. My marriage is better. My kids think I'm a Superman. And I realized, holy shit, you know, I'm getting stuff like this. And I'm like, this is fucking better than anything I've ever experienced. This is better than walking out in front of 50,000 plus people in the Tokyo Dome. And then funny enough, Arnold comes back into play one more time, dude. So he starts the journey for me. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, now I've gotten far enough along in my journey where, I'm on the radar. So I'd actually worked with him a couple of years at a charity event, so I'd see him every year. Right. And, I wouldn't get a chance to talk to him that much, but Arnold is a special dude. He recognizes the people that have kind of forged their own path, and he could see that, and, so one of the things he said to me, he says, hey, you've done a lot, but you're going to realize here pretty soon, if you haven't already, that, changing other people's lives is going to be probably more fulfilling than the things that you've ever done for yourself. And this all kind of happens with a few years of it. It's like it ties itself together. And the fact that he says that now, I just know it, because it's like this thing that and so bam, here's my new company. But realistically, we ended up closing down the gym because it was like the gym became a distraction. Luckily we did, because COVID would have closed it the next year anyway.
Yeah.
but it was like literally
out there in California, dude. Like,
they closed everything down. But it was like I needed all hands on deck I was kind of choking the gym, because I was using resources of people that were, into this new company, but anyway, so this new company now is like, it just became my purpose. It was really, yes, it's a company, but it was yet the universe again giving me another fucking blessing, because, the paycheck, so to speak, that I get, of course I get paid financially, but when you're not chasing a financial paycheck, that's when you really, really become like the next level. You're vibrating higher, and the financial paychecks follow suit. They just keep getting bigger and bigger. But this now has become my purpose. I just one day won't wake up. I'll do this until it's over.
Yeah.
Right. And to answer your question, how this became so natural to teach other people was because everything that I taught myself was done with the idea that it had to be simple to execute so I could be successful, and people resonate with the simplicity of my methodologies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that we preach and teach over and over and over, and we're constantly reminding people of, your next easiest step needs to have as little friction as possible.
Yeah.
And the more complicated and complex something becomes, the less likely you're going to be able to stick with it and create consistency.
Yeah.
So it has to be easy, and as you can only integrate complexity for as much consistency as you have behind it.
100%. If you can't repeat the process over and over and over, it's too complex. And there's little, and I use some of these mental pieces of warfare on myself. Like, I'm a big one on non-negotiable, but I'm also really big on making the barrier of entry of non-negotiable so little it's easy to step in. Like, reading's still an Achilles heel for me, right? I have a non-negotiable every day. I have to read one page. I know on any given day, no matter how bad I feel or no matter what's going on in my head, I can sit down and read a page. Right. Now, reading down to sit and read 30 minutes every day, that might not be something that might be harder for me to do. So that one page never sticks at one page. Because once I get started, I want more. Right. And so it's like, that's one of the things I do with my clients. We do a lot of habit stacking, and we like brush your teeth every day. Boom. There's the next habit. You brush the trigger is brushing your teeth. And then we have all these different habits that are triggered by different things throughout the day. And they're, they're tied to these really, really low barrier of entry non-negotiables. Like, you have to walk in the front door of the gym. Once you're in there, if you want to go back to your car, go. But you have to walk in. Don't have to get dressed. Don't have to do anything. Get in the door. And if you want to go home, go home. They don't do that. They've gone that far. They keep going.
Reduce it down to the ridiculous, man. That is so powerful. And it's so underrated and underappreciated, because, I have ththese conversations every day. I'm either confronted with this notion that there's no way it's that simple. It's like, it kind of is. And at the same time, it's like, to your point, it's like, well, you mean all I have to do is walk in the gym and then I get to change my mind? It's like, but what we're armed with, brother, is human psychology. You won't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There is a piece of you, we call that a threshold. Once you cross said threshold, you won't allow yourself to not fulfill the task.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
I mean, how many times did we start a workout that we didn't want to do? Turned out to be one of the best ones ever.
Fuck, man.
Oh,
dude,
my God.
I've owned a gym for 13 years.
Yeah.
And like I've had seasons where it's like, I am fucking forcing myself to be here today. And I never regret the experience. Never.
What you said earlier, you said, it's so good because people say it's really that simple. Mm-hmm. Well, if you can continue to show up, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But if you can't show up, no, it's not that simple because you got a different problem on your hands.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Brother, I really appreciate you sharing your journey with me, man. It is inspiring. It is tremendously interesting, dude. We're gonna do this again for sure.
I'm all for it, brother. We could talk about so much other shit. Hell, I didn't. One of the things that kind of a cool little side note, which we could spend 20 minutes talking about the experience.
Yeah,
I'm one of the few Americans who's been to North Korea. I got a passport that's stamped with North Korea.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, so we'll have to leave that one for the next one.
Okay, we'll dangle that carrot for sure, man. Dude, where can everybody get a hold of you and learn from you and catch fire with what you got going on?
So the best way to reach me, because there's so many social media platforms, so I say this: let's keep it simple, true to the way I am. Yep. My Instagram, it's basically my name is spelled different, so Jon is my first name. My last name is spelled different too. Jon, and then Andersen is Andersen. That's Nordic. So the handle is @the Jon Andersen. Now here's the trip. With that account, I go into the DMs every day and I connect with my people. Yeah. So I want to help. Part of my thing now is in my purpose. I want to help it. I want to positively affect as many people as I can. So you just come in and say, hey, are you coming in? You want to talk to me about work with me, or you want to come in and you want something that's just going to inspire you. I got plenty of really good resources. Like one of the things I love to give away to people is it's a handbook I have. It's a mental handbook. It's called the Monster Mindset. And it's a simple, it's an ebook. So we just email it to you, but it's a simple read. Clearly, but in that simple read, there's some really good, powerful takeaways that can get you moving in the right direction. So I'm all about up here. You get this straightened out, everything else falls into place. So come say hello on my Instagram. And like I said, you will find me in there because I love to connect with my people. But more importantly, I love to positively affect people that come in contact with me.
Hey, that it's happening, man. You definitely had one on me, and I'm grateful for it, brother.
I appreciate you, bro.
100%. For everybody out there listening, remember, it all begins with integrity, courage, and ownership. Head over to the Next Level Alignment Village. That's the hub where all of our content will live, exist, will nurture, will grow, will make it all happen together. And by the time this episode is out, it'll be alive and thriving. So we're really looking forward to the launch this week. And again, check us out. Progress always.